Hey everyone, this is Trina with the Young Women of Color Initiatives here at Advocates for Youth.
And Durryle Brooks for the GLBTQ initiatives here at Advocates for Youth.
And this is our March monthly highlight section. We just want to talk about some things that have happened within the news here in our nation's capital, as well as around in some of the states that you all currently live in.
Absolutely. So 2 historic things have happened this month.
Yes.
The first of which is DC legalized same-sex marriage.
Yes.
And healthcare reform. Woo!
Healthcare for everybody.
Yes. So, I mean, history has really been made. And Trina and I are just going to share our perspectives on those 2 major victories.
Yes.
And I'll start talking briefly about same-sex marriage. For me, I'm so glad that we're finally in a space that DC has just become the 6th place in this country to sort of legalize same-sex marriage.
Yes.
It's very important for the changing family structure of this country. We have more and more GLBT families, and they need to be supported. GLBT families need to be able to go to the hospital and see their partners or their children without feeling like or being hassled, which is a huge problem, and it does happen. And something as simple as going to the school and picking up their child. You couldn't really do that without being questioned. But now the law says that it's not so. And now we're going to have the same rights and privileges that heterosexual couples have had for years and years and years in this country. And it's about time.
Yeah, and something specifically within the DC marriage license. What is so different about the DC marriage license than the other ones?
Yeah, so basically what DC did was do gender-neutral pronouns in their forms and provided sort of a place where you would typically be associated with male and female, i.e. bride and groom. Now they've just changed it to spouses, which is a very easy fix to something that people have made seem so hard. You just put your partner's name in it and call it a day.
Call it a day.
And so that is really a very quick and easy way that organizations across the country can really start creating inclusive application forms, which would also, create safer spaces for GLBT people if, that space and the organizers of that particular space were really on board. But that's one quick, easy way to do that.
Okay. And then also within the marriage equality rights here in D.C. is that we saw more people of color signing up to go get their marriage license. And when we think about the other 5 states that already have civil unions, those states really didn't represent people of color. So the San Franciscos, the Boston, was it Boston? But now D.C., the chocolate city as we know it, there were more people of color lining up to get married here in D.C. than any others. And that just shows another push towards actual civil rights and what we have fought for so long here in this country.
Absolutely. And I just second that. And it really is important for just the spectrum and the representation to have people who want to be partnered and of color as role models. Not everybody wants to be partnered, and I'm not an advocate of forcing anybody to do anything that they don't want to do. Right. But in terms of, having models and representation, it is good to see married people of color, LGBT people of color, together holding hands, kissing. Like I said earlier, our family structures have changed, and our culture needs to adapt to that.
Yes. Love is love.
Love is love.
Regardless of the color, regardless of the identity.
Absolutely.
Another historic thing that has happened, as Durryle already mentioned, is health care reform. Yes, everyone will have health care here in the United States, but we just want to talk about some specific things that really tie into the services that you all do in your community and what Advocates for Youth really speaks volumes to. One is that the healthcare reform has expanded Medicaid, which really affects adolescents and young adults. Also, one big thing that I know a lot of people are excited about is that young people below the age of 26 can stay on their parents' health insurance. So that means once you graduate from high school, you go to college, you'll still have health insurance. Once you graduate from college, you'll still have health insurance as you're looking for a job. If you don't decide to go to any type of college, you'll still have health insurance so you can go and get the basic adequate services or health services that you need to just have a productive life.
Right, and those are going to be quality services. We're not talking about, sort of downgrades. This is, the same high quality service that you would go if you had, full coverage insurance applied through an employer, those benefits will and those services will be extended to everyone.
Yeah. Also within healthcare reform, comprehensive sex education, $75 million has been included within the healthcare reform to have comprehensive sex education services for those who are in K through 12. So this is a big kudos, whoop up for that. We want to make sure that everyone is getting the adequate comp sex ed necessary in the school system. However, there's a comma there. They have also reauthorized abstinence-only funds, which is also known as Title V, meaning that people will get abstinence-only education. And we know that this presents a risk for a lot of people because it's not going to talk about contraceptive services. It's not going to talk about a lot of things that we advocate for here at Advocates for Youth.
Right. So something as simple as, it really, abstinence-only education, one of the core foundations is that, it's until marriage, so it pretends that, within those years that, some people are not going to decide to engage in sexual activity.
Right.
And, it takes away people's choice
yes.
to accurate information,
yes.
to actually take care of themselves. And that is not good.
Not good.
Not good.
All right. So we need to work on that. Yes. You all who are in Congress, let's work on that whole Stupak amendment. And then, the Stupak amendment, which are abortion rights services. So this is something that really lets young women decide whether they want to choose to have an abortion, not to have an abortion, to actually have this incorporated within the services under the healthcare reform bill. So Congress is still trying to see how to place the language within the healthcare reform around abortion rights and services. And we already know that we have made a lot of progress with Roe versus Wade, but we don't want another Roe versus Wade now that we have healthcare reform.